Good evening, and welcome to another session in Gotham. Wow. Tonight we have Talon, Amber, and Anthony meeting at Anthony's apartment, discussing matters. Anthony has wanted to meet with Talon for some time, and Talon has some old flames, birds of a feather, and all that. And without further ado, so where does Anthony actually live?
Anthony has an apartment on the 29th floor, just because either he didn't quite have the money for the 30th, or he just likes to break certain stereotypes. Who knows? Maybe it's a weird mental compulsion. Who knows what goes on in the mind of a were-owl? But anyway, for today, because guess what? It is actually day, and might that have been a deliberate choice? Or is that maybe just something that quote unquote normal people do? Once again, who knows? But anyway, he's actually invited Talon to come over to his place, the apartment on the 29th floor. He's prepared some snacks, some beers, ciders, wines, sort of the usual. And yeah, has given Talon the address and a rough time where it would be convenient for them to have a chat. Also, letting him know that there might be a
Use the
favor.
normal door?
Yes, he would like to ask from him. So, if that's okay with the two of you, feel free to arrive in front of a door that, for all intents and purposes, looks perfectly ordinary.
Talon's just like, what is this shit? I'm not just walking out of a dark corner for once.
Do you actually look at the door kind of puzzled?
He's just like, am I doing this? Okay. And knocks. It's the first time he's knocked on a door in 20 years, so don't mind him.
Was this an apartment building?
Yes.
So there's the call bell.
A nice high rise in the more affluent part of Gotham City.
So there's probably a call bell on it.
Yeah,
yes,
so be at the door
and a nice little name shield. A Volente.
So while he knocks on the door, I use the call bell to call up to whatever apartment number that is, or name, and I
Apartment 66.
Yep.
Oh, you didn't get a third one?
All right, so door unlocks. We enter. We find apartment 66 on the 6th floor, I'm guessing.
29th, but yeah.
29th?
I don't know why we're breaking rules, but yeah.
Yes, very much.
Floor.
Exactly.
Apparently Anthony has some sway here.
And then I tell Talon, see this door here? This is the one you knock on.
He just nods like, you fine. He just hangs his fucking shoulders. He's just like, I'm new to this. Fuck off. Last time I used a door, we were probably kicking it in with that other kid.
So he's knocking.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long. You see a tiny amount of light coming from a spy hole, the light switching off again. You hear several locks unbolt, unlock. You think you even hear the tipping of somebody behind the door on, could it be like some sort of keyboard? Difficult to say, but it doesn't take too long, and the door opens and slides to the side. For Amber, who hasn't seen Anthony before, in front of her is a reasonably tall man. Seems to be Caucasian of origin and has got shock white hair on his head, eyebrows, beard, and basically a rather pale appearance. The only thing that is not shouting albino at you is his clear blue eyes. Ah, Talon and his
Talon
side.
just bark or Amber.
Wait, what did you call me?
I called you by your name, Amber,
Oh,
but he just like
Amber.
barked it out. Oh,
Oh,
I don't think he called you anything.
good evening,
Talon
Miss
is-
Amber. And he looks back at Talon. I wasn't expecting that you were bringing a friend along, and such a good-looking one as well. He smiles.
Apologies. It seems my past. What would he say? Apologies, my past
Is
caught up
catching
me.
up with you,
Yeah.
and he gives you a toothy grin.
I guess that could be taken way too many different ways.
I just let it go. I totally.
But
go with it.
anyway, come in. Where are my manners? Please. I've got snacks and drinks ready.
Ooh, food.
Yes.
I get overly
Speaking of
excited
which,
about
my
food.
food just showed up.
And he just ushers them in and closes the door and puts. Now that you're on the other side of the door, you see an almost ridiculous
So-
amount of locks, deadbolts, and even the odd keypad going in. And he just locks the door and closes about 3 of the 10 locks that are on the door.
Sounds just like. You really think that'll work?
You're serious about your security, aren't you?
That's a different approach.
Just the bare minimum. He waves it off as if that were perfectly normal.
You remind me of someone I used to maintain their apartment. They had like 3 birds, and they had brain surgery, and they spent a lot of time in Africa. You're basically playing Peter.
That's great.
Only his place was covered in feathers and bird shit, because birds are actually terribly messy creatures.
Yes.
But yes, anyway, he leads you into a rather swish-looking living area. It's all actually pretty clean and tidy, you have to say. Apart from the odd magazine that isn't quite perfectly in the corner, but otherwise it seems to be a pretty well-maintained apartment. Yeah.
This is the first time Talon's really seen a living space other than Tatiana's house. He kind of lives in his lair, so yeah. He's like, oh, this is cozy.
Thank you. And he says, please make yourself comfortable. I'll be bringing the snacks shortly, as he walks to the kitchen area.
He like inspects this chair before he sits on it. He's like, okay.
It looks like a comfy late 20th century leather chair with a possibility of putting your legs up.
Oh, you're
And
lazy boy.
the leather itself, a little bit worn, but well taken care of. It isn't quite in the put it that way.
Yeah.
Style-wise, you very much get a late 20th century vibe, but it's all very comfortable, a little well-worn, but quite respectable.
Yeah.
And in the corner, you even have what seems to be an old map of Italy hanging up and nicely framed.
Talon's probably too busy going, this thing goes up and it goes down. What the fuck is this?
Sorcery. But
I'm
anyway.
I am very entertained by Talon. Just
He's
my
like,
head just
why don't you just...
I just thought there's probably a couch or some love seat or
Oh
something
yeah.
nearby. Probably.
There is a nice brown leather couch, nice and wide. 4 people could probably get quite cozy on it.
Talon's
And
too busy playing with the chair.
yeah,
I just sit down and just kind of like look around and also laugh at Talon.
Fair enough.
It's
It doesn't
just-
take too long, and Anthony reappears with an assortment of snacks, some more typically American, but there's also bruschetta, ciabatta, there is some olive oil, salt, balsamico, and a few other things
Oh.
that people can, and dips ready and stuff. So, you know, if you like it sweet, there is something. If you like it savory, there is something. If you like it spicy, there is something. Feel free. I've got plenty more. By the way, Amber, Talon, what would you guys like to drink?
I would. What kind of hard liquor you got? Pretty much everything.
Well, let's see. We've got limoncello, we've got amaretto, we've got rum, bourbons, whiskies, almost everything except a vodka. I'm not a big fan of vodka. Goddamn potato juice.
Potato juice. Yes. I just asked for some whiskey on the rocks.
Fair enough. Whiskey on the rocks. And you, Talon?
You're muted if you don't think you are.
All right, I'm back.
What's we got here?
Yeah, it was well timed. Holy.
I asked him for just
Oh, I see. He's having issues.
Was
it's
Talon
fine.
asked something?
Yes, Talon was asked by Anthony if he would like any sort of drink.
He'll try cider. That's the most natural sounding thing, and it's probably the only thing he hasn't tried alcohol-wise yet.
Okay, fair enough. Anthony reappears with the drinks, a nice chilled cider.
To give, to
to
give
give to
Amber
Talon.
some context, when Talon first learned about alcohol, he would literally just pick the 3 nearest things, 4 nearest, like just throw a bunch of random shit in a glass and drink it. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so a nice chilled cider is given to Talon with also a glass, a few pieces of ice in it, and Anthony even takes the liberty of opening the bottle for him and pouring him the drink, as he then hands Amber whiskey on the rocks. I went for a Scottish one, I hope you don't mind, and pushes it in her direction.
Not at all.
the formality is not totally lost on Talon. He stops playing with the chair and he's like, "Thank you."
Happy to see you guys are comfy. So, fair enough. This does throw a bit of a spanner in my plan, since what I would like to ask you is of a certain confidential nature.
This is your home. And then he kind of clues in. He's like, "Oh,
Or to put it bluntly, as charming as as a companion is, can you give me assurances that what I'm about to ask you would remain between the 3 of us?
I can.
He kind of looks over to Amber, like his head's tilted. He hasn't seen her in so long, but she hasn't let him down yet. So after like a minute almost, he just kind of turns back down and nods his yes.
Good. I take it you'll vouch for her. Good.
Well, and he quick draws his bow and he's just like, "There's consequences. I'm sure you understand."
I just roll my eyes at him.
Okay. Fair enough. Pardon
know
me,
I
my
can
dear.
find people.
He can be a little bit rough around the edges. But if there's one thing he is, and that's stalwart and straightforward. So, yeah, talking about that, you probably just like to know what I would like to ask from you.
Yeah, you really like to make the chase last a while.
Ah, well, well, you know me, I like to tease a little bit.
Now you're speaking my language.
Holy. Huh.
I'm liking her already.
She's like that with everybody. Don't get too excited there.
Ah.
If that's what you're referring to, I wouldn't have dared assume that. Plus, I'm in a committed relationship, so
For
Cool.
once, that wasn't what I was referring to.
Sounds just like, let's keep it that way.
but yes. But yes.
Out of
Anyway,
character, I know. I'm not being a dick. It's just
No, yeah. No, it's funny. You're
no,
good.
no, no. He just wanted to make things absolutely clear.
Just-
so.
Anyway, so I'm reasonably aware of your talents, your very unique talents, and I know we don't know each other that well. I'm fully aware of that. However, amongst my kind, let's say in my very, very extended family, there has been a fellow who's been causing trouble for us. Somebody who's been going around and murdering vampires left, right, and center without any real discrimination. And it's causing us trouble. Because if this continues, it could basically end up in a sort of turf war. And mind you, of course, my extended family would probably, actually most quite certainly, come out on top.
Isn't
But
turf wars what you do?
no.
From his
not
experience with
fully.
werewolves, and keep in mind he grew up in the bush in werewolf
Yes.
land. So he's like,
Yeah.
isn't that just what you people do?
Well, in the city, things are a little bit more complicated. It isn't like in the forest where, you just get on with it and be done with it. There is society, there is humans that can get involved, or in short, if a war were to break out between the vampires and my kind, yes, we would win, but it would get very messy, and especially since it would be due to the actions of one individual who's going against the interests of the group, of the flock, I might say.
So you want me to get rid of someone?
I have the sanction from the highest members in the pecking order, for the lack of a better word, that that person needs to go, needs to disappear, be liquidated. How it happens is not that important. It is more important that it happens and that that person doesn't continue doing what they did. I would like
Talon
to
just
point
shrugs
out
as
that
you're going on about who's in charge and getting permission. He's like, I don't care who's in charge. Like,
okay,
you want someone gone? Fine. Who?
yes, I would like someone gone. They were given ample warning and they ignored it. So at this point, they've only got themselves to blame. But I wouldn't, yeah.
He just kind of chuckles, like, don't we all?
I'm innocent.
Yeah, we're all innocent until we're not. But the point he was making was, don't we all just have ourselves to blame? And
Yep.
to me, the whole
Yeah.
ample warning thing, and it's starting to sound like it aligns with some of his lessons, like attention and tradition.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there are always consequences in breaking tradition and going against the good of the many. But yes, obviously, I'd be willing to compensate you for your troubles. I don't go around and just expect people to do stuff for free without there being some sort of reward, of course.
Indeed. He almost looks like he's mulling it over, and he's like, "You're only the second person so far. You're not bad." That's like the closest thing he'll give to a compliment for now. But like, Creed's the only
My
other
guy
person
is
who's
smart enough. My guy is smart enough that he'll just nod. Thank you. Well, the thing is, I've got a good feeling about you. There's something awfully familiar about you.
well, we're both how you put it,
yeah.
raptors. He seems pretty fond of that.
And he just breaks a big smile at that. Yes, very much so. But I also take you as a person who isn't that terribly interested in material gain.
I already
But
have what I need.
exactly. You're somebody who can take care of himself. Somebody who can also make do when he needs to. Somebody who's good at surviving. However, when you're out in the bush, it's fine. Of course, you always have to be able to rely on yourself, but things are also a bit more straightforward. When you're in a city, love it or hate it, you tend to be more reliant on the aid of others, or at least the potential aid of others.
The shadows are my friends.
Yes, but shadows can only do so much.
Indeed.
So I was thinking, if you helped me with this, you'd be doing me a great favor, and in return, I would consider you a very good friend. How should I say, even a friend of the family? Which means if you were ever in a pickle or needed help, you would get it from me, unequivocally, no matter what.
He already has family ties with you, right?
No, Anthony
Oh, okay.
and Talon haven't got family ties with each other.
In that case, Talon gets a half smile on his face, and he's like, "There are some things out there. I've seen you handle yourself at the Rose very well. I know that like causes more questions than answers, but that's just how he is. He's just like, yeah, you can take care of yourself. You can fight. I guess I kind of want you on my side."
Yeah, I know. In these modern days, the whole idea of kinship, standing stalwartly at your friends, and so on, tends to be more cynically laughed at. And his expression becomes very serious. I'm a volente. When it comes to family and friends of the family, there are no ifs or buts. If they need help, they get it. No questions asked.
Have you seen my home yet? I don't believe you have.
No, I haven't. And as much as it interested me, I decided to respect your privacy and not snoop.
Very well. You've shown me your home, presumably. He's not lying, eh?
As far as you know, and put it that way, if you were to use some sort of atavism to find out if he's speaking the truth, yes, this is a home. Out of character, this is one of several homes.
Huh?
Okay, so like a collection of save houses.
Correct.
I would be listening this whole time to see if you're lying.
Yeah,
That's-
he's not lying. This place,
that's
he
fine.
considers this place his home.
Okay.
In that case, an eye for an eye, the old saying is.
Yes.
Even though he doesn't know that it's actually like revenge, not fair trade. But
He sort of goes eye for an eye. I'm not aware that.
he just pretty much means, you did this for me, I'll do the same. It's okay.
So
One. Yeah. At which point it goes, I think you're getting your idioms mixed up. You mean one hand washes the other.
And as you say that, your apartment's still around us. Don't get me wrong, but you see Talon in his horror form.
Do I get to join?
Uh,
I just left at the apartment.
It's not that we're not in the apartment. We're in both places because the chamber overlaps and people use their dream stats. So I'm pretty sure you merge with your horror in that sense. It's not your lair, but you're still in a lair, which is the primordial dream. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Talon would have nodded. You're a beast. Talon would have nodded in your direction before he did this. Like, hey, I'm about to do something.
I go along with it, of course.
And he opens the pathway to his lair. And you see this huge skull that's like bathed in shadows, just dancing around the surfaces, along with his headdress. And it's her sort of perfect mannequin-esque. I mean, you still have your horror thing set up, right?
Yeah, it's a shifting marionette. So pretty much it's like a doll with strings attached to it that shifts. Like it looks like different people all the time. Different things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And as soon as the horrors appear, he's like, this is who we are.
Well, in that case, it's only bad manners for me not to show what I am. And Anthony just takes off sort of the house robe that he had on, and you see him shift and turn, his human form shifting into that of a giant white were-owl towering over you. The eyes have gone perfectly yellow, the stare very typical, the movement, the grace, heck, even the silence as he towers above you. Two feathery tufts coming from where his forehead used to be. And if you had to guess, and you guys probably know your owls as well, he looks what would probably be described as a big horned albino owl, were-owl. And he just stands there as he stretches his arms and his wings, the nice black talons on his very bird-like for the claws/hands, and with one of the wings, he gives them to a respectful bow.
It's kind of hard for a skull to bow, but you see him sort of look like a big nod.
Yeah,
My
And- and
marionette
then-
very
yeah. Sorry.
doll-like bows in return.
Very good. And a very rough, a very distorted voice comes out as he opens his beak. And this is what I am. It's obviously difficult for Anthony to speak like a human in this form, but he sort of managed it.
Without being rude, I ask if you can do the whole head thing where it turns full 180.
Okay, so I take she's like, I don't want to be thing, but you can. At which point he straightens up, and as he moves his body and his back towards you guys, his head stays perfectly still, blinking at you.
I let out like a little clap. Like I
And
clap.
yeah,
like I'm
and-
excited.
yes, and then he moves back. It's hard to say, but you think there is a smile. That big beak with a nice sharp edge, and if you look a bit closer, the edge of the beak has got like small, not incisions, but it almost looks as if it's sort of like a saw. Has these like tiny grooves in it, a bit like a saw.
I just took them out.
Well,
Gotcha.
my lair only was open for 2 turns, so we have enough time to do that, and then, shoo.
Yeah.
And it's like he doesn't really make too many humane metaphors, but like he fails to say something along the lines of, "Well, I guess our cards are on the table."
Yeah. Well, Anthony Schiff, as the layer dissipates and his apartment reappears in full, he just shifts back into his human form. There you go. I'm what they like to call a were-owl, but we prefer to be called the Strigoi.
I'll remember that. Walking Dead style. But no, Talon actually says, I'll try to keep that in mind.
Yes. Now, I know that you're a beast, or at least that's how others call you.
I did tell you
But
that I'm one of
You
the children.
prefer to be called a raptor.
A raptor is... It's what you might call a nickname. It's not inaccurate, but it's like not quite the right word.
Well, you have my word of honor that I would keep that information to myself. Would you wish to divulge it?
Yeah, everything. He kind of gets like a low, like a cat getting ready to prowl, right? He gets like a lower stance, and he's like, anything that happened here stays here, and that doesn't mean bring someone else here and talk to them. This never happened.
I haven't got the foggiest idea what you're referring to, as he gives you a very obvious wink with his right eye.
But does Talon catch on to this?
Yeah, the wink makes it sense. He's out of touch. He's not retarded.
How far out of touch is he, though?
15 years in the bush will do that to you. Especially because there was a period of time where, oh, this is actually important story stuff that you should know.
Yes.
So Gotham went back in time for a while, apparently. Maybe Anthony was prison for that, and then suddenly got launched into cyberpunk land. And we were born, and Talon was kicked out before all that happened. So it's not just going back to the city. It's like a whole new fucking world for him because it's all cyberpunk now all of a sudden.
Right.
And then
I-
suddenly Aladdin music starts happening. No, we won't go there.
not going there. No.
So that's why Talon's like exceptionally out of touch, because it's quite literally not the place he left.
Right.
But yes, it is very simple. As stated before, you help me with this, and I'll consider you family.
Likewise. Should something come to pass? Why are you talking?
Of course. Mind you, I would of course hope that nothing untoward ever were to come to you. Then again, I've got a hard time believing that that's that. But this city, Gotham. I mean, I've lived here basically half my life, and it still manages to surprise me, which is something I don't care much for, but it's the way of the world in this city. It's a nexus for craziness.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
So it
You know.
never hurts
it's always
to
been
have reliable people
yeah.
around.
Talon
You know.
kind of offers his hand, and he's like, "It's always been chaos."
Yes, but it's a very specific flavor of chaos in this city. And Anthony takes his hand and gives it a good solid handshake.
Look at that. Talon's learning social behaviors. Anyway, it's
I
like
just
awkward at
smile
first,
really
and then
big.
So Talon and Amber and Titus were kids that grew up together for some period of time, and Titus was the loud, angry kid. Talon's the quiet, curious kid, and she's like not just a pretty face, but she's like the social one who's just the face.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
kind of like their little sister growing up, and then once he
Aw.
left, once he got kicked out, it fascinated me because I got to see him turn into that whatever he was.
He's there, and then he's not there.
Well, you lived there for like a year and a half. I got to watch it a little bit.
Yeah.
It was fun. So I got to see that, and we all went our separate ways, I guess.
Life does that.
Yeah.
Now we have Titus. Everybody's just like, "Hey, half the crew's back. Cool."
Yay.
And yes, so that's that.
So
Now,
what are we dealing with?
Right. We need
Okay.
information on our target.
Look at you getting all gung ho.
Well, I mean, I don't do the
Are
killing,
we
but I can
partners
probably-
now? Is that a thing? Are you
Oh.
just,
I ain't
like-
got nothing better to do. I don't have any clients.
Yeah, clients. You know, you can like tell
That
it's just
is-
dripping with.
That is the word I use.
Anyone who sees your pretty face is a client, huh?
Ooh, I want to slap you so bad.
Have fun
No!
slapping in the darkness. I cast magic missile at the darkness.
Magic
Anyway,
No, I just shoot you almost a death glare. It's like no.
he like makes a fake kiss in the air, like, oh man, I guess this is a thing again.
huh. Okay, so
Sorry, Anthony.
okay, fair enough. It's obvious you two have okay, no, that's
Oh
fine.
God!
That's fine. You know, I mean, it's obvious that you two are good friends, and that is perfectly fine by me. Actually, if anything, it's puts me at ease.
Why is that?
No, it's good. But it
Sounds
sounds
like,
your
why is
friend
that? You're
here-
just like, well, that's good.
it's good, and he just sort of ignores that. And so it seems, Amber, you would like to have in on our little conspiracy here.
Well, I figured
Oh,
since
no.
I'm
You s-
here, I kind of heard everything.
You
Seen your
said
true form.
conspiracy. That's like putting a hook in front of an angle. It's just
It's right up my alley. That's like I yearn for that.
you literally
like,
just
yeah.
fed a plate to her. Hey, you want this bait?
Yes.
Well,
So exciting.
fair enough. I know. Yeah. Okay. So, I saw that lovely marionette beforehand, but I wouldn't want to accidentally insult you. May I ask what kind of? And he takes a deep breath in. Yes, beast, you are.
Talon actually sits straight because he was lower, and he kind of gives you this, not a pan face, but like almost blank, and it's like, I find the secret places. She finds the secrets.
At which point, Anthony's eyes just sort of light up. Oh, a kindred spirit in that case. Ah, excellent. For that is what, well, for funnily enough, those two things are those things that are my purpose. Finding places, and then once I've found them, finding things out about the people who reside there. Ah, it's almost as if fate brought us together.
I'm just gonna look something up real quick, but feel free to. The nickname for Nguma is what Talon would use.
Yes.
So, we call each other Raptors out of, we'll say, mutual respect. All right?
Well,
She's what you might call an outsider,
okay, fair enough.
which is ironic. He just kind of leaves it at that.
Fair enough. In that case, feel free to refer to me as a raptor also, for I do descend off them. Quite literally.
I give a small
Although-
chuckle to that.
Yeah. Him obviously referring to the whole birds counting as avian dinosaurs.
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
and
I followed that.
Ah, good. Just to be on the safe side, sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
As if the claws weren't a dead giveaway.
So true.
Okay, so we are dealing with one of my folk, another Strigoi. As far as my intel goes, he's a bit more on the beefy side because, believe it or not, as impressive as my form might have been, I'm actually not the strongest or most warrior-like of my kind.
So bring silver.
Out of character, I'll have to double check if silver is actually effective on werewolves or if it's a purely werewolf
okay.
thing.
Well, either way, he would have used Eye of Heaven on you and just asked any what supernatural weaknesses you possess.
Yeah.
Insert answer.
And it would simply go, well, we don't really suffer the same curse as the werewolves because different than to them, we didn't piss off Luna.
Good job.
And made ourselves ill-liked by the spirits. But then again, wolves be wolves, and my kind be my kind.
Indeed. You kind of get the feeling there's a lot of unsaid shit behind it, but it's just indeed.
Yeah. However, I wouldn't be planning to send you in there without the info. I am currently awaiting some more details from an associate of mine who's just as unhappy about my fellow Strigoi's actions. And I would be passing on that information. And I would say we'd be making a proper battle plan at that point. But I've already been mulling over the possibilities, and I know you are fond of your bow. So giving you a tranquilizer gun is probably not the way to go. However, I have the tranquilizer darts, and I also have access to strong tranquilizers myself. Since shock horror, I actually studied to be a veterinarian in my earlier days, and also finished off, with papers and all. So, what I was thinking to make your work a little easier was to offer you the heads and the poison in question so that you could slow him down, disorientate him.
We're
Thus
talking about a
making it-
were creature.
Right.
Yes.
No
We are.
offense, but this is. You guys tend to get pretty angry.
Yes, we do. Very much so. And we have very keen senses. I'm not divulging any secrets here. Anyone with eyes and the ability not to go stark raving mad when they see us in our true form is able to excellent. Now I can't speak English anymore. And he curses in Italian. Anyway, be able to figure that one out. I don't know, though, how beasts draw nourishment, apart from normal eating. I know you don't do it through blood.
Normal eating.
Yeah.
He kind of mulls it over,
And-
like. Thinks back to the sushi and the sake. He's like, I guess that's what people consider normal. And
Okay,
afterwards,
that's what humans would consider food and nourishment.
Yes.
oh, and he kind of shakes his head, like, I'm not sure I want people knowing exactly how that works.
Beasts like us need some secrets to keep.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Rest assured, we don't need to defile a body to gain our nourishment like the kindred.
Good. And it's only fair, and yes, there are still plenty of other secrets that I have to keep. After all, there are traditions to uphold. But
Yes,
Of course.
even friends can be swept away by
curiosity.
Just for clarification's sake, you want him to disappear, but you don't want his body defiled.
Ideally, he would disappear for a short while, and his body then show up again, dead. Very dead.
Okay.
Is there the way you put that makes it sound like you have a window in mind that you don't want a corpse. Why is that? I mean, Talon could just be totally misinterpreting this, but at the same time, it was kind of a strange way to phrase it.
Okay, let me rephrase that. No. There can absolutely be a corpse. Actually, that probably would even be better because let's just say my higher ups would then have confirmation that the
Alright.
troublemaker is no longer going to make any trouble.
Is there anything you want from this target before we erase him? Information, assets, I got no problem putting an arrow in someone's heart from 100 meters. But if you wanted to ask him something first, you best speak up now.
Hmm. I wasn't given, as far as I know, the job is literally liquidate him so that he no longer causes trouble and doesn't start a war.
Consider it done.
Sounds good. Easy,
Yeah.
simple. Mainly up to you, Talon.
Do you have... I guess we might need a storyteller for that. Never mind. I was going to say, if you had somewhere we could go for him to investigate and get like a lead or something, that might depend on our storyteller.
Out of character, if you're okay, I'll just sort of fudge that. Anthony goes, shows you a few pictures, blah, blah, blah. This is our man, blah, blah, blah. This is what he did. This is roughly what I think we should do. But out of character, I need the storyteller to get the
flesh it out.
Exactly,
Okay.
because my
That's what I
character knows
figured.
it, but I don't.
Right.
So we can just insert whatever he eventually tells you in this segment. That's fine.
Exactly. And yes, and yes, he sort of points out, yes, yeah, exactly. As far as he's concerned, it probably would be a good idea if, once Talon is done doing his thing, and Anthony just sort of, lets him know that what you do, how you deal with the guy, is very much up to you. Obviously, nothing in front of cameras, nothing that breaks the veil. But
You call it the veil, they call it the masquerade. Seems everybody's got a word for the secret.
Well, okay, the secret then, and he uses your term for it.
Everyone's all worried about
blah.
fucking shadows.
But yes, exactly. So he says, you do what you want to do. If you can leave the body mostly unharmed, you can have it dropped in an alley or dropped in some.
I'll leave it in the dumpster outside your condo.
Well, and at which point he will go, yes, I take you to be smarter than that. Absolutely.
That's why
that was his attempt at sarcasm.
We'll bring it right to your front porch,
After he's like, I hope you're smarter than that. He's like, it was a joke.
No, he said he doesn't hope, he knows Talon is smarter than that.
Okay, then yeah, we're fine.
But yes, after all, as regrettable as this situation is, I wouldn't want to deprive the family of a body to mourn.
Okay.
All right, we've pretty much hashed this out.
Yeah, exactly.
We could probably introduce the Pharaoh. And, or David, I guess is what his character's name is. However, where the hell are we going to do that? You might find interesting. So we'll say they probably have a few drinks as they're chatting. Roughly what time of the day would you say this is going on? Like maybe just before noon?
Yeah, actually, it is very much just before noon. Exactly. Yeah, so looking at Amber, he sort of goes, well, what would, since you're so eager to help, what would you like in return? Is there something I could offer you?
You extend the same to me, or same to her as you did to me.
Okay.
I'll accept these terms.
Okay. So, okay.
I'll take responsibility.
Okay. Fair enough. In that case, I would also consider her part of the family, with all the benefits and obligations that comes with. So should she ever be in need, she can come a knocking and I'll aid her as good as I can. And obviously, although I'd be surprised that you wouldn't, not that I expect her not being able to do that, but also should she need protection or I don't know, come, I would do my damnedest to protect her as well. Same thing goes for you, Talon, because that's what family does.
He kind of just smiles and he's like, "We've seen each other in the field,
Yes.
and people who generally know how to fight can like tell when someone doesn't know how to fight because they carry themselves differently. She doesn't have the same like muscle and so on and so on.
Hmm.
And so it's at least somewhat apparent that he's like. So he says to you, "We've seen each other in the field.
Yeah.
It's pretty clear to see that should something happen, it's on both of us to intervene."
Understood. And obviously, when I do my actions, not that I see that my actions should in any way, shape, or form really impact you, but should I come into a situation where that's the case, I will obviously try my best to, if I can't prevent it, at least mitigate it.
You won't commit the sin of bystanders.
Exactly. That's
He almost spits it out like that too. Like you won't sit there and stare like the masses.
Well, yes, for we aren't sheep. We are predators. It's in our nature.
Is there anything else? I came
No.
up with it too exasperated, but you know.
No. So that's that. In that case, he offers Amber a hand. With a handshake, we'll make it official.
I stand up respectfully and shake his hand.
Oh,
Anthony gives you a healthy handshake. And you both can consider him, you know, whatever the beast term is for.
brood, coterie, etc.
Exactly. Yes. Flock.
Talon's actually going to take this opportunity as you're shaking her hand. Animals leave things behind, whether it's rubbings on a tree or piss or fur. They're disgusting, but feathers. If you're a were-owl, like, do were creatures suffer the same fate?
Well, I wouldn't call it suffering, but it's part of the natural cycle. After all, summer came, summer went, winter is upon us, and I have shed my summer feathers.
I'm going to ask for a couple.
Any in particular? I've got some down, I've got some wing
Doesn't matter.
feathers.
I'm going to break one just to prove a point.
Okay.
So probably wing feather.
He goes, comes back, and there is a big plastic bag, and out of it, large ass sized white, snowy white feathers looking out. There you
Like
go.
how like length of your forearm big? Like how big are these feathers? Can you conceal them?
Okay. So the ones that are the wing feathers, I would say a forearms length,
Jesus.
minus the hand, so pretty
Okay.
big.
So like a foot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
you can seal that,
exactly.
it's a feather.
And because they're owl wing feathers, anyone with good eyesight will see that they're slightly different. They have got these like tiny hooks at the end. For anyone who knows their biology, they would know that sort of that weird adaptation that owls have that allow their feathers to glide almost silently through the night, making it way easier for them to snatch their prey.
He'll find like the smallest one he can, and within a reasonable time, pull it out. And he's like, "You know that I can find things.
Yes.
Well, I've been working on that front. And he like breaks the feather. I now know when and where this feather broke. Anyone who's important to us, hand them one of these when they're in trouble, break them, and it'll just be a discreet invitation.
He just nods. And
Don't
then
ever tell anybody about this. This is for, we'll say, our inner circle. I don't want to have one of these break and have it be somebody I don't care about. It's supposed to be for emergencies, you understand?
understood. Only for the family and only for emergencies.
Close family.
Only for us.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
No, I prefer it that way too. I'm not a fan of giving out too much. No. Secrets have their uses. Let's just say my kind knows that probably better than most.
I
But
especially
sometimes
don't.
you also have to give. But you have to be very, very careful about it.
I
He
give a
kinda-
smirk.
He gets this like deathly look. Oh, pardon me, in his face, and he's like, I especially don't want the finger pointers or the bloodsuckers getting these feathers until further notice.
I don't fancy. Agreed. Agreed.
I've made some friends in that community, and he like hangs on the word. But
If you can call it that, yes.
however, I've yet to see their true colors.
Yes.
They haven't done wrong by me yet, but they have a reputation, you see.
Oh, and that reputation is thoroughly earned. I would also like to make something clear. I can respect and also tolerate a lot of different creatures. Most of them have a purpose in the big circle of things. However, vampires stand outside of that circle. They are not in any way, shape, or form part of the natural order. So
That's
Tatiana
where-
has been able to. I can tolerate her. I can, because she seems to be actually trying.
I let
But
out a
as
little
far as the
chuckle.
rest of the bloodsuckers go, they are outside the natural order, and I've got little love for them.
I mean, we're all. This is where the beasts kind of show, but we're all descendants of something greater than ourselves.
Exactly.
However, I wouldn't say they're hard to get along with, at least the few that I found. I just. They're
Just by
family,
their very
but
nature, they are hard to trust. Pardon me, I cut you off.
they are family. I'm still trying to determine whether it's of convenience or otherwise. They haven't, like I said, they haven't done me wrong. I'm sure they're presentable, and I do seem to get along with the rather straightforward one the most, Creed. Despite
Yeah.
his proclivities. Well, Talon's not that eloquent. He'd be like, despite his habit.
Yeah. As leeches go, I've got more respect for him than others because he knows where he stands. He doesn't make any bones about it. I can respect that.
Oh, I respect them. They're all quite capable monsters.
Oh, they are. They are. Don't get me wrong. That I'm not underestimating them. But yes, there is a certain natural order to things, and they stand out of it.
Well, you're making
They-
water out of your daddy, eh?
They taught me a few
Your daddy
things,
says you don't do.
and fuck, what was I gonna say?
They taught you.
They taught me a few things, and I've come to realize that they're not like me. They're more like her, and that's like,
Vampires
he's
have a
trying.
lot of similarities.
He's trying not to sound like rude about it, but you can tell he's just like that's just not my scene. That's not where I thrive. I'm a monster. I'm like a monster's monster, not a
You are.
not a manipulator.
I just shrug.
he's like finding the words, trying to be nice, and it still boils
Oh.
down to manipulator.
Oh yeah, but I understand what you're trying to say. Me and vampires have a lot of differences, though. Don't worry.
To that end, I've actually learned something from them, and hopefully I won't need to use it.
Yeah. Oh well. What I do for the greater good. And yes, I also take a certain amount of pride in my work.
Well, of course.
There's nothing wrong with pride.
No, it's fine. It has its place at the right time. But yes. Still, I dare say, different to vampires, they are very much an accursed lot. Quite literally. They are afflicted with a curse. It is not
It's-
really, after all, they are not born, they are made.
It's been a while since I've hung out. Like, sorry, it's been a while since I've been active during the day. The company we keep.
Yes. Actually, I did that exactly because I didn't fancy any of the bloodsuckers per se to be active around this time. And also to remind myself that, yes, they might think they rule the night, which is a very debatable argument. And he just chuckles a little too hard than he should, after all. But it's nice to see the sun from time to time, even if I have to put sunblock on. It's a bit annoying, but well.
Don't want you
I
looking
am
like
an
a tomato.
outlier. Very much so. I am an outlier. I am an anomaly. But yeah.
Well,
But there is one thing I also would like to point out. As any good predator knows, yes, the bats think they rule the night, and so often they forget until it's too late that owls eat bats. And he just grins pretty evilly at that point.
Talon just shrugs like it's of no consequence to him, because really.
I kind
Corny.
of yeah, I smile just amusedly.
Yeah.
Without
Anyway, that's
further business.
That's so much for the business. You're welcome to hang around and enjoy another drink if you want, but I won't keep you if you're busy.
Actually, you know what? Talon's been he's been starving for most of this campaign off and on, and super angry and shit. So I think this will be like the one time he actually just chills out, has a fucking drink with his old friend. And speaking
Right.
of which, Talon has to get Amber caught up on like hey, we haven't seen each other in like 15 years.
Yeah, I kind
And,
of need to know what's going on. I'm just
you know,
over
what's
here.
going on in Gotham?
I'm joining all these meetings, meeting all these people. I'm like, I have no
Mhm.
clue what's going on.
No, it's pretty good. In that sense, I would say yes. Anthony plies everyone with drinks and food, and to be fair, he says if anyone wants a proper meal, just let me know. You know, sort of letting.
I'm
I
halfway done
can't.
with the plate of bruschetta.
Yeah, exactly. And he says if you want any more, you know, whip up, and he basically lists any kind of classic Italian uh, food that you might
Ratatouille.
fancy. Yeah, sort of commenting, well, it's not as good as Mama used to make it, but it's at least passable. And he's actually selling himself short because the food that he brings, it's nice, it's fresh, it has this genuine taste to it. Yeah, there is somebody who definitely enjoys his food.
Good shit. Talon's
And if,
actually pretty happy
yeah,
too.
exactly, he will hang back, let Talon do you know, the catching up of Amber. If there is any info, you know, like more general info that pertains to Gotham, Anthony just might pipe in and give like, oh yeah, that was actually this happened, and oh yeah, you might like to know this location is really good for this. But apart from that, he'll let Talon do the talking.
Well, aren't you just the best wingman?
Literally.
Oh,
Hey, yeah, my guy might be a horrible, sadistic monster who, out of character, does necromancy and has been known to torture gang members horribly for information. But when it comes to people he considers family, yeah, he's a solid
Weird.
one.
That's
That's his
awesome.
one redeeming quality.
That's an Adams family over here.
Yeah, we're totally the Addams family.
And even got the crazy white-haired uncle guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. Uncle Anthony. There you go.
I am not Gomez, I don't think.
No. Yeah. But
no, you're not.
yes. So my guy has a lot of things wrong with him, but he is very much a family man.
I'm more like the
The
thing.
monsters.
Where is it? It's always in the corner somewhere. That just make Talon way creepier than he should have been.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, very much so.
How much is Anthony actually aware of? I know you've seen me use layer traits. You've literally seen me in my horde. At least this time, anyway.
hmm
And now I
How
just told
much
you straight up.
aware of
Sense.
what exactly?
Like what he's capable of. Like as far as Anthony's perspective goes, does he think Talon's capable of taking on one of his own kind?
With the effects he has seen and shit like that, Anthony is pretty convinced that Talon has got a fair chance. Anthony will also have hashed out that he will actually be in the vicinity and help out if he sees that things are going pear-shaped. He's pretty sure the two of them can take him, can take that guy on. And if Amber is in the mix, he's pretty convinced.
All right.
But yes, exactly. So and at some point he probably even suggests just because from the arrows that he has seen and that they're obviously homemade,
Yeah.
Anthony will probably actually select some of his feathers out and you know, a nice neat pile, and basically go, by the way, here, for fletching. And also sort of pointing out that yes, this is sort of a thing, because were owls normally, unless it is left on the street as they're flying away or whatnot, when it comes to molting, they normally ritually burn it all.
Ew.
So he's actually
Understandable.
he's taking just like let's say like a dozen of them and offers them and says, "You have my permission to use these for fletching, no one else."
I appreciate it. And he tries to as gracefully as possible take them, because he's pretty clear that this is something that your kind might frown on.
Yeah. Your assumption wouldn't seem out of place. Correct.
So let's add David.
Ooh,
Okay. That's
That's dark
All
and
right.
creepy. Love it.
well, he described the character as shadows flock to him, so he's similar to Talon in the sense that he sees in the dark and can make it dark. Well, he can make it dark. Talon doesn't do that yet.
Gotcha.
But anyway, we'll say that they spent some time at Anthony's, kind of hashing things out, being all buddy.
Yes.
Ew.
Fraternizing. All the fraternizing.
It's worth noting that this is like the first time Talon's actually more or less done that. I mean, he's gone out for sushi, but it's always been with a goal in mind.
Mhm.
This is the first time he's actually just kind of chilling. That being said, eventually they will finish up, probably if we get started before noon, probably mid-afternoon, and Talon will
Yeah.
invite Amber to basically walk the old stomping grounds. Anthony's welcome to come with us, but it doesn't matter either way as far as Talon's concerned. It's just kind of like, hey, we were kids. We're going to kind of check out what happened to the place we grew up in.
Relive old memories.
And Anthony. Okay, so out of character, where owls tend to be more
Nocturnal.
a bit isolated. Well, that's
Both.
debatable. After all, they put it that way, they don't burn in the sun, and they can be awake. But anyway, Anthony, he's pretty outgoing or put it that way, less isolationist as many of his species, but even he can sometimes. So he sort of mulls it over. His first instinct is sort of nah, but then he actually gives himself a push and thinks, you know what? Yeah, I'll tag along for a bit, and he'll tag along with them.
Very well. I'm gonna just say I spend the willpower and we get the same roll.
Yeah, I took mine a couple times. I knew.
And Talon will draw his lair down and will pop out over by the hospital. It's probably a very jarring experience for Anthony, because this is the first time he's experienced probably anything like this.
Mhm.
But we enter my lair. We're at essentially Gotham General, and then we're at the real Gotham General, and the lair's gone.
Yeah, he obviously doesn't like shriek out or anything, but there's the natural slight
That was weird.
pulling together of the shoulders and looking around. Very quick, very bird-like motions, of course. But yeah, you two guys couldn't help but notice that when Talon had overlaid the horror and everything on Anthony's apartment, that there was a genuine look of interest on, just that, like, ooh, interesting. But that's all I'll say on the matter.
This isn't teleportation, I promise, guys.
Pretty cool.
It's much more difficult. And Talon will even say something along those lines where it's just like, this isn't how I get around quickly, but it's handy. Or useful.
Good to know. And he nods.
Also, you've officially been in my home. Congratulations.
Yay!
Out of character, I believe that actually gives you a slight dice bonus on social actions against Talon. It might have to be the heart, but yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna say David might recognize a few beasts and a werewolf just strolling through the old town.
Well,
Oh yeah, that's where we burnt down Bodhi's house. Oh yeah.
I
We
mean,
kicked down
if
that guy's
David
door.
You
had-
mean you?
I just wanted to say, unless David has got the same trick that Talon has, which basically goes, what is this guy? Click, it's a wereowl. Ah,
All beasts.
then you would see two beasts and what is some were creature in human form.
He's just
Yeah.
he's just in his usual shadowy fuckboy nature. So just he's just walking through the street, but it's just kind of he's aggressively in place. Like he is completely where he is supposed to be. Nobody should look at him for more than a few seconds. He's just part of the scenery.
Oh, you mean like from the shadows level part of the scenery?
Yeah.
Well, then it's up to you to interact with us, because I'm not gonna spam needs most every turn, or my birthright every turn, because we're on that trip through memory lane here, girl and Talon.
Right. Me, I couldn't care less about anybody else.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like, Titus, I was closer to you, Titus, and then other than that, I've just been bouncing around. I'm not sure how David fits in.
He's kind of what's Amber's presence? Or just
3, 2, no, 1. That's right.
My presence?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, no, it's
It's
2.
2. Okay.
Yeah. It's 2.
okay. He's just casual. He just sort of like looks at between the three of them. He's got a massive smirk on his face. Before he just quite casually crosses the road, and he doesn't particularly make an effort to hide his presence. It's just casually walking through the darkness.
Yeah, the second From the Shadows drops, Talon just goes, He's got that hyper awareness shit going on. He's like, someone just appeared where they shouldn't have.
Someone just dropped out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is okay. Time to wake up.
Yay!
Now a man is just there in an exceptionally fancy tailored suit, just staring at the three of you. I say staring, just looking between the three of you, with a smile on his face. His eyes just flashing a lovely yellow in the darkness.
That's not only obviously supernatural, but Talon's already like twirling in air with his fingers, like like people fidget when they're a little anxious. And he's just like, we were on a nice stroll, twirling arrow.
You're behind us. I kind of give a sideways glance and smile. Just kind of keep walking.
It's been... I do believe we're of the same brood. Near enough.
As soon as you say the word brood, Talon almost flinches, and he's like, you may be of our...
No, okay, I didn't mean specifically
Okay.
the beast term brood.
Okay,
I meant
okay.
double meanings, but I meant specifically
ilk,
Same
kind,
kind.
something in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
direction.
Cut of the same cloth.
Yes.
No,
there we
Talon
go.
gets that, but he's just like, this person clearly has no discretion. Like, even
No,
I have
it's
the
specifically because he is literally slap bang baby beast.
Oh, he doesn't even. So he doesn't even know like not to be supernatural and broad.
Yeah,
fucking
no,
thing.
he's baby beast, as I said.
I mean, it doesn't take a smart person to go. Maybe I
No,
shouldn't use powers in broad daylight.
he's not using powers in broad daylight. He's just
He's
He's
gonna
just-
call you out if he sees you.
pardon.
You're gonna call him out if you see him.
Pretty much, he's
Yeah.
just like, I've never seen people that have the similar features as me. What the fuck?
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's just family resemblance. Because you said your eyes were like fucking yellow and that you're like
Yeah.
dark and shit. So I was like, are you literally walking around using Death of Light? Okay.
No. He's just like part of the scenery type deal. And the eyes are just from a flash caused by a genetic condition.
What is with you people and genetic conditions?
No, I mean, no, literally, it is a genetic condition.
Are your eyes actually yellow?
Yeah.
Oh, I met somebody with yellow eyes.
And it's
I
not
was
like-
more, we're walking with an albino werewolf when you run in. Like, what are the
And
fucking
where
odds?
owl? Come on, man.
Thank
Yeah,
you
well.
very much.
But
I
you get
got
the
you.
point. You get the point.
Best
Yeah,
wing
we're-
woman.
I thought-
We're kind of a hodgepodge of different characters.
Yeah.
yeah, we're all morally ambiguous.
When we want to be.
But
I'm
yeah,
just exceptionally. I don't give a fuck.
we were walking,
I,
and when Talon stops and he's like, "Well, we were having a nice stroll." He's twirling his arrow, and you say, "You've never seen someone of our brood before." He kind of like twitches.
I say it's rude to what is it? To the extent of it's rude to openly express one's true nature.
Well, to be fair, he didn't exactly say, "Oh, we're beasts, happy day." You know, he said it in a way that you could kind of pass it off in conversation, but it's more you supernaturally hid yourself, pop out of us, or quote unquote popped out of nowhere behind us.
He didn't necessarily pop out of nowhere. It's just he casually tapered off the usage. So it's the equivalent of he is there and he was always there. It's just
Right, no, you were hidden and now you're not.
The thing
Not
is,
really,
I
he
have
wasn't
layer 4
really
and
in-
needs must, so I'm very. I can see like miles away, and it's just like
He's
this person
not
definitely
actually-
wasn't there a little while ago.
he's not actually he wasn't actually hidden per se, technically.
Okay.
He was just obscured somewhat, just naturally.
Oh, okay, so okay.
He'd
I
be in
know
a
what you mean.
wallflower, is
Pretty-
what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty
Pretty
much.
much.
He doesn't stick out. He's not somebody we take notice of.
Yeah, basically
I
he's just
understand.
plain.
I use the same trick. We're good. Yeah.
I do that trick a lot.
Mhm.
Anthony looks at Amber and Talon and just says, "If you want, I can leave you two guys if that is some more private business you want to take to."
You're fine.
You're gonna
Excellent.
leave
This
me
isn't-
with these two brutes? I can't believe that.
Roots. Speak for
Roots.
yourself.
Oh my! If you put it like
Wow.
that, of course I can't, my dear lady. Of course not.
Talon's not a
Roots.
brute. He's just ambiguously blunt.
Brute.
I was literally just poking stabs.
I know.
Especially since I know of since David was so kindly
Talon is 9
Outing
satiety, so he's not
himself.
even mad. He's too full, and he's got his food, but he's like, Even he just like gives you this sidelong glance, like brute.
Like that is an insult.
Like after all these years, that's what you fucking call me.
And I was being overly dramatic about it. So
Oh, okay.
it was clearly a joke.
This is Talon, but yeah, he gets
I
it.
mean, I put the whole hand on the forehead,
Oh,
fade
God.
backwards
Oh,
a
no.
little bit. Like I play it up.
Okay, drama kid.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, same thing for Anthony. You picked up on that. Said, "Oh well, madam, if you put it like that, putting his hand on his chest over dramatic, then of course not."
Talon's still just twirling this arrow, like you still haven't introduced yourself.
Yeah, of course. How rude. David, no last name.
Talon. That's like we're back to the first week. No.
You
And
can
the
call
lovely
me
lady?
Queen.
She's not yours. Just putting in
Talon
the
just
words.
gets real possessive real quick. I just kind of sigh. Amber.
Thank you.
Anthony,
I wasn't.
that'll suffice.
Thank you.
Talon
Anthony.
wasn't trying to be possessive. It was more like, bitch,
I
please, we don't even know you.
I think it's funny that just like it's
He's
kind of
just
like the
terribly out of touch.
yeah, exactly. Social awkward. I'm gonna mute myself real quick. I'll be right back. You guys continue.
All right.
Hmm.
What's with the eyes?
Genetic abnormality. Curse of the family. Out of character. You would probably you would likely know that there's a particular family, or at least there's a particular trait that it's associated with a particular family. Old money type fuckers.
Are they?
If you're
all
secretly
gonna
playing
try
one of those Soul Eater
this
heroes, I'll be
Gotham by
mildly
any
annoyed.
chance?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Pardon? What was that? Sorry, Anthony.
Sorry. Would you say Gotham old money or other from outside of Gotham?
They've had stockings in Gotham since it was created, but they're not of Gotham. They have people there, but it's not like they're a Gotham old money family, you know?
So they're not like the Cobblepots or the Waynes or the
No.
so and so's. Okay.
Like
Okay.
the equivalent of, I don't fucking know, Bill Gates opening a restaurant in
Yeah,
fucking
gotcha.
Japan.
Oh, okay. In that case, my guy will not know that. However, since my guy is quote unquote suffering from a genetic anomaly himself, i.e., albinoism, he will actually recognize that those yellow eyes are not supernatural, and he'll just nod to the others as if confirming what David said.
I mean, Talon's still twirling an arrow because that's Talon, let's be honest. But he does visibly relax a bit.
Oh.
I'm back, by the way, guys.
What do you do around here?
I make my home in the less trodden parts of the city. Plenty of people there.
Someone
So
who
you-
talks like you, hanging around here.
Pardon?
This isn't me being rude as a player. It's Talon being. I
no,
grew up in
no,
the slums, and this rich piece of shit thinks he owns it.
It's he's literally the definition of fucking gentrification.
Yeah, you're exactly the kind of person Talon would just hunt. But
But no,
we're not gonna.
He's just quite calmly just standing here. I don't necessarily think I own the place, but I found my home here.
Do you even because when you do family resemblance, you get a feeling for like how full they are and what their station or what is it, lair, satiety, and family. And since we all did that on each other, Talon's an Oogaloo, layer 4, and he's got 9 satiety, so he's gorged. You would know that he's gorged.
Okay. What is satiety usually starting at? Because my
It's
sheet had
based
it
on
my...
5 questions. So, are you starting the game with kinship? To another supernatural type, like family ties.
I think so, yeah. Wait, hang on.
Yeah, so that's 1. Do you typically feed with like groups, like hunting parties and the like?
Occasionally. But not so much.
It's not the majority, okay. So that's 1. The other one is, do you feed in grandiose ways or lots of little bites?
Lots of little bites. But he tends to, when it's something like... He feeds when it's available. He tends to set up things in the long run for big things, but he uses little things to tide him over in that case.
So you have ample means of feeding, though. So that's 2 satiety so far. Did you raise your layer above 1? I haven't memorized, unfortunately, but it's like page. Hold on, satiety.
It's like I'm looking through the character creation setting and I can't actually see that shit.
I just have a retarded brain that apparently just.
Sorry,
levels of satiety.
I did. Sorry, carry on. I'm good. I found it.
Essential. Oh, there we go. Who are your kin? Does your belly fill easily? Are you a social predator? How frequently? Yeah, so do you use your atavisms and nightmares a lot, essentially? Basically, do you use your powers a lot when you could have used something mortal, like normal means, quote unquote, to do it?
He tends to alternate depending on situation. It's not like he actively chooses to use supernatural abilities constantly. He uses the normal effects of things.
Yeah.
Like the normal effects.
Okay. So that's probably... So 1 because you start with kinship, another 1 because you generally don't spend satiety much. You did raise your lair. You don't typically hunt in groups. That's not your main method. But you do have multiple outlets at any given time. So that's 3 satiety. So you're starving, but you're not too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But yeah, Ashmaki and Lair 2.
Okay. I already said Oogaloo, Lair 4, Gorged, and Amber is Inguma.
Yep, Inguma. I'm what is satiety like 6?
Sated.
Sated, yeah. So I'm just happy. And then Lair, right?
Yep.
2. Go ahead.
He just sort of like.
Pardon me.
He just sort of like. He just sort of like walks up and offers out a hand to Talon. Just a simple handshake. Very. he literally just straight up walks over with nothing, no show of anything, and then just holds his hand out to shake.
He'll take a minute, but he'll get Amber to shake your hand, which is super awkward, but like that's Talon's like, you're a new face and he doesn't know if you're a friend, and she's the person who he happens to know that she's fairly good at people things and he's definitely not. So he's just like, he kind of like has this dismissive gesture, not really, like picture his hands kind of just coming out from his sides, like social retreat as it were, and kind of then smoothly goes to gesture towards Amber, like or even Anthony, just anyone other than him. He's just like, yeah, social.
I noticed this and I kind of step in and take your hand and shake it.
Thank you. He also offers it to Anthony as well.
Right. I kind of explain, I'm just like, excuse him, he's not one to trust people readily.
Neither am I. But I still
He did
find
put the arrow away, so you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, that is something.
neither am I. It's just I tend to provide a sense of politeness even when I find I dislike someone.
Well,
Not-
manners cost nothing, but having no manners can cost you everything. And
Exactly.
Anthony
Not.
gives out his hand to shake.
Oh, as I said, as soon as he'd shaked Amber's, he did actually turn to shake Anthony's.
Mhm, okay.
It's like he makes a point of offering everyone a hand. He's just a very polite person.
Once he's shaking the other two's hands, Talon will kind of not offer a hand, but he'll like shrug in a sense, not like super exaggerated or anything.
Right. I want to. I missed a lot of the explanation of who you were.
It's fine.
If you did introductions, so
Essentially, he's dressed in a particularly
very posh looking.
very posh looking. He does indeed have a cane in his left hand. So, look, yeah. He's offering out a hand to everyone, but he doesn't seem to. He seems very plain, particularly plain. He just seems the kind of person to just blend into the scenery.
Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss anything.
He's not like he's very polite gentleman. Even the way he carries himself
All right.
is just yeah.
And did you did anybody ask you like what you're doing out here?
No.
No.
Well,
okay.
Talon did ask what he does around here. But
Oh, I
it was
didn't
like it was a
actually
more
hear that.
general, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then he didn't answer it before he just marched up silently for a handshake. So that's why it's kind of awkward.
I didn't actually hear what you'd said.
Oh. Well, if you would have answered Talon's question, he might have been a little more likely to.
No,
shake your
he
hand.
did answer the question. He would have. His usual answer was just specifically, I live around here because I found my home here.
Okay, so that was the answer.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It wasn't.
It's-
It's not
yeah.
specifically. This is, of course, one of the things that I kept from my old life before moving here.
He still doesn't trust you, but
Go
you
ahead.
at least answered, and he'll shake your hand instead of doing that weird gesture.
Mhm.
I didn't understand it at first that was your.
I couldn't help but mention, David, that you said you haven't come across, and he nods to the other two.
I smile.
So
Cute
are
Two in
smile.
one day. Holy.
Yeah. So, may I assume correctly that for whatever reason you are not yet, how should I say, acquainted with your peers?
You could say that, yes. You definitely could say that.
Talon just laughs because he's like, first Titus, now this. Like, he's like, what is this day coming to? Outwardly, he has this look on his face, like, oh God, like looking up at the sky. He's just like, fuck this. And he's like, how green are you?
Right.
My devouring was last week.
Well, somebody must have told you
Yes.
your condition in order for you to know that term.
Someone indeed.
Well, fine. Be
So you
that
have
way.
met others.
Keep your secrets. No, not others.
Gotcha.
So probably looking for some, more information and stuff like that, I would presume.
Well, we happen to know that he's starving, whereas we're at least moderately fed. So it's like, oh, a new beast on the block who's starving. We beasts have a somewhat familiar structure, even if they're not in broods. They kind of at least put some polite effort towards taking care of one another. So especially newbies. So It's-
I'm going to politely say, are you out here looking for a bite to eat? And of course, it's heavily implied. What?
Indeed, I suppose you could say that.
I look over to Anthony and because this is one of the things that when we were talking I didn't want to show him or express to him what that was.
Yeah, and Anthony, thanks to the merit common sense, having at least also a bit, also knows now that David is one of their kind, and that they didn't want to talk about that. Simply goes, oh, yeah, right. Mind you, if as said before, if you folks want, I can leave you to it. After
On the
all, it is
contrary.
polite. It is impolite to just sit there and stare while other people eat. And he gives Amber a wink.
That's exactly what we were gonna.
Well,
Thank you.
in
I
well,
give
in
you a
that
big
case,
hug. I give you a big hug. Like I would
he
like a uncle.
aw, out of character. Aw, in character. First second, taken aback a little bit, but then he smiles and gives you a nice strong hug back. And Anthony is putting healthy 3 dots strength into it and says, no problem, dear. Can't help but mess up her hair a little bit as he rubs over it, as you know, as somebody would with a pet that they have grown quite fond of. And in that case, you three have a lovely luncheon. I sadly have to be off. And with that, he just turns heel and walks off and out of the scene.
Do you have to go, or you're just doing that out of a?
I'm doing this out of respect.
Fair enough. I was
Not because I actually have to go. He
That's
says
fine.
slightly exasperatedly at Talon.
We were actually we actually had this happen earlier today. So like
I look at you, crack my knuckles, ready for round 2.
Yeah, basically. Anthony turns heel and Talon's like, wait a sec. And he'll actually come up and we'll say he uses the Mirage's lair trait so that he can tell Anthony something privately. Because it's hallucinations, so only he would see it. And he's like, how do werewolves feed, if you don't mind asking? And it's like the shadows just hallucinate into text on the ground as they're walking. And they're walking side by side, seemingly just, wait a sec, and we'll probably have some trite conversation between us, but the real conversation's happening in the shadows. He says one thing, and you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Okay, so is Anthony hallucinating that shadows are forming?
Talon's like, wait a sec. Well, where do you have to go so fast? But on the shadows, you just see them stretching out into the road or wherever we're walking, sidewalk, and they spell out, is it rude to ask how you feed? It's probably a jarring experience.
Yeah. Anthony rubs his eyes a few times, blinking at that, and then trying to think, and he very quietly mutters to himself, Talon, is that you?
I thought you were more perceptive. Bumble, stop.
Bumble.
The dirty cat.
Wait, who's Bumble?
My cat.
He's a stoner cat.
Yeah.
He's me.
He's a stoner cat without being an actual stoner.
He's
lovable
derpy cat.
Yes.
So a cat. A cat.
And anyway, so Anthony goes like, well, now I am. And he sort of goes like, That I will tell you when you tell me how beasts feed.
He just gets this wide smirk, like this newbie.
I am watching you, by the way,
As we're kind of like slowly walking off.
because I know unless you have a ulterior motive, you just don't go up to people and talk to them.
This is true, unfortunately.
He's just quite. I mean, to be fair, this is technically feeding him. Technically,
What even is your hunger?
or at least the mere mention of secrets.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're a whisper. Okay.
Actually, no, not a whisper, a collector.
Oh,
A collector. Oh, okay.
He hunts the concept of both secrets and value, of secrecy and value, rather.
Okay. You know what? Out of character, my battery is at 3%, so I'll be dropping off. I would say the whole conversation via shadows, we can take care of that in PMs later.
sure. Okay.
Okay.
No.
Woods-
My I'm at 2%, and it's going to give out any second now.
Right, I got
Okay.
it.
Plus, Anthony has walked in the other direction anyway, so
Well, just let him go.
I'm jumping out here.
Okay.
I know you'll
Have a
see.
good night.
Yeah, you too.
I'll be online in a bit.
Oh, okay.
Bye bye.
Well, that totally shot down what I was gonna do. So,
You were gonna show him how we fed, weren't you?
no, I was attempting to organize the same thing we did with Creed.
Oh, right. Oh,
But anyway.
yeah. That,
Because that's the least harmful way for a beast to feed.
yeah. I feed off of that anyways, so
What is that? Sorry, what are we talking about?
Family dinner.
Oh, yes.
totally family dinner.
Anyway, pardon me. So, we know that you're rather down on your luck, we'll say.
You could say that.
You're calmer than most,
I try.
considering most. Like, if you're starving, usually your horror is like. Not quite. It's not mind control levels, but like it's typically pretty much
It's
what you
pushed
think
in
about.
there.
He's had much worse from other people. Out of character, he grew up in the kind of environment that one would not really wish upon your worst enemy, because you've got on the one hand controlling family members, but on the other, people that kind of want you to die, kind of shit going on. Family,
Right.
guys. Which is why he's got a fucked up view of family.
Yeah, right behind the couch in the middle.
To be
Right.
fair, I've stayed up way later than I intended to because it's almost 4 a.m.
Right.
I'm about dead. I'm not gonna lie, especially considering I've been smoking for a good chunk of the day.
Oh shit.
Like, I am exceptionally fucking toasted right now.
Okay. Well, your hunger is secrets, so I'm sure we could just use Amber's Memer's wisdom and find somebody who's cheated on her wife or what have you.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, pretty much.
give you that basic
if you-
bitch satiety. It's
If
not
you
much,
let me,
but
if you let me know what it is, I can go to the nearest house and just talk to the first person I see.
To be fair, I'm just gonna go ahead and sniff the air. He just sort of stops, and if you don't mind, if there's actually something I meant to do beforehand, he just sniffs the air and just like he's using the low
Monster
safety
from the
effects of Heart of the Ocean.
yeah. So anything that would be a meal for you that's got something in it, basically.
So he's just basically sniffing. He just sniffs the air and he just says, "I think there might be something." He gestures very non-committally before finally settling on somewhere to the northeast.
Lead the
I
way.
think. I have no idea where I'm going with this, but actually, to be fair, may I ask that we call a hold on this?
Yeah.
And we continue, like, make this a continued scene some other time.
We can even just say make your basic satiety roll for like a low potential satiety and move on, because that's basically the end of the scene anyway. So
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
and then we can carry on somewhere else, somewhere new later on.
Yeah. Where am I looking?
Oh, that's like page 88. No, that's not it. Satiety is 100.
Bless me, Jesus.
Yeah, 108.
Got him. Okay, so base potential, it's 1.
Like I said, you can probably just do this whenever. Just keep in mind that it's just like a low potential meal, pretty much. It's just a quick and dirty, get you out of starving.
Uh,
I have all the secrets.
it feels an aspiration for me technically because I'm feeding on things with, and I'm feeding on things whilst finding other beasts. So that's
Wildfire. That's a
no.
So it's like a.
Feeding, but my aspiration is find other beasts
Oh,
Oh well, yeah, okay.
yeah, there you go.
and like foster relationships with them. So that's my aspiration.
You have a little bit longer to foster a relationship
No.
with us.
It's working
Yeah, he's made progress towards it.
exactly.
yes.
That's, which actually would grant a beat technically.
Very well.
I still have to do my
I
aspirations.
imagine
and
there's a
stuff.
decent,
Yeah,
decent argument for that. At any rate, I'm sure David's probably popping on now.
Yeah,
Take
I
care.
probably will too.
That's 4 dice.
Okay.
I'll roll that. But I'm gonna hop out the call. It's fun.
Yeah. Sorry
Yeah.
it took so long to introduce you. We kind
It's
of had
good,
a
bro.
scene going and we just kind
Yeah,
of shoehorned you in there anyway. So
Yeah.
it's good, man. I just sort of listened in for a little bit. Yeah, it was fun. Anyway, you guys have a good night or
You too.
evening or whatever time it is for you.
it's actually like almost 11 at night. So yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Have a good one.
You too.
Alright, see ya.
As for catching Amber up, I'm not really too sure where our two characters are going together, but that's quite the introduction.
Right.
OOC and in like both worlds. Just
Oh
hey,
my goodness.
we're doing this now.
Hi guys. I'm just here.
And immediately integrated into like 3 different fucking things.
Yes. Well, that's kind of what I do.
Well, I kind of dragged you into it, but at the same time, you said you're available for most of the winter, so.
Exactly.
And even when you're working, it's like not crazy. It's like an evening shift or whatever, so.
Right. Exactly.
But you're enjoying yourself, so let's see where it
Definitely.
goes. You think you'll be sticking around?
For sure.
All right. I find it fucking hilarious. Like, hey, we haven't talked in like 6 months. Hey, you want a game? Sure. Hey, you want to play those characters that we made like a year ago? Kind of already am, fam. It's just like it just worked out.
That's perfect.
Like the fucking odds. Anyway, I suppose we'll call the scene here, so I'll mute do the outro. Probably do the Discord thing, unless you're going right to bed, but moving on. Well, that was surprisingly 2 hours of Gotham. A deal was struck between the beasts and Anthony, and we even introduced a new beast tonight. So, hopefully, we have some fruits for our labor ahead of us. With that, I bid you adieu and good evening.